Hit that like and subscribe button. Don't believe everything you hear or see on this video. Let's dive in.
This video should terrify you. This scientist right here put these fleas in a jar, and then he seals it shut, trapping them in there. For 3 whole days they struggled, just smashing into the lid with every attempt. But you see this part? This is the messed up part. When the lid is removed, they actually never jump higher than the lid. And what's even more diabolical is that their offspring were born with those same limits. And that's how conditioning works, even for humans. So even if you have one false boundary, if it's repeated enough, it becomes your reality. And what's truly terrifying is that most people live like this, under a lid that doesn't even really exist. Look, if you never test your ceilings, you will never actually find out how high you can go. And this is exactly how dreams die. Not from failure, but from limits that you never challenged. Every day that you accept somebody's ceiling as your truth, you're actually training yourself to live small. And if you're not careful, and if you're not aware, one day you'll pass that same ceiling on to the next generation. This video should terrify you.
That is terrifying. All right, huge shout out to Jenna. She has captured some UFOs.
These are undeniable inverted images of these ships that I documented. These are.
I'm trying to figure out, where is that coming from? Is this from the sun? Where are these ships coming from? And how big exactly are they? Drop your thoughts in the comments below if you know more about this.
You know that this is a big, big mess in the sky, and it's not airplanes. And look at this, look what's in it. Look at it. It's not natural. It is not. You can see some more images.
Unbelievable. It looks like a war zone happened up there, like an airplane firefight.
Okay, folks, I want you to watch a demonstration of nanotech. This is little micro robots, yeah, performing tasks. This one is it moving the fat and getting into the blood, yeah. As you can see, it's moving it along there, see, and helping. This one's going to put the circuit and create the light. You see how clever it is? Yeah. Now, there's conspiracy theories out there that this is in the V and building chips in people's bodies. Now, what you'll see is it throws that up there, yeah? It's that intelligent that it knew it couldn't get up, so what it does, and you'll see it here, it chucks it up. It throws it up. Watch, look. Throws one over, yeah? So the intelligence is obviously coming from us via some Wi-Fi connection or something like that. But I just wanted you to see nanotech and how advanced it really is, folks. That's all. Here it is. Just to give you a little idea of, what's going on in the technology world, if you like, and where we're at. So nicotine is the killer, yeah? It will kill all this. The Australian scientists have already shown that in videos now. So if you want to get rid of this, I wouldn't say start smoking. I'd just say get some. And happy days. Remove the damage, yeah? If it's the case that you feel that, you might have some of this in you. Just saying, yeah? Just want you to watch what's going on with the way this nanotech works.
I am a daddy. I have 3 sons.
3 sons?
Yes, but I don't talk about it much. It's a bit embarrassing. My eldest boy ran off to sea to make his...
Very, very intelligent, folks. Let me know in the comments what you think.
One of the reasons we started talking about boron really was because I had somebody reach out to me and send me a video. It was a whistleblower that had been working on nanotechnology for black op projects that no one even knew about. And this video, when I played it, he said, my team has been working on this nanotechnology, this transhumanism agenda. We've been working on this micro robots that are going to be introduced into the body. And he said, the thing that we're finding that will neutralize a lot of these things is borax. And then all of a sudden the video disappeared. I couldn't find it. I still to this day don't know how that happened. And that was it. And I just kind of, put that on the back burner until, and I was part of the course, and then we started really finding out what was in all these bioweapons and these synthetic bioweapons that were happening.
Nanotechnology. It's getting out of hand.
I started getting introduced into this scientific community of parents. It wasn't like guys in suits and stuff like that. It was like dads at luncheons and barbecues and stuff like that. You just start like meeting. And they are part of what's called the Jason projects. And the Jason program is a scientific committee that is a advisory group. Basically, they're consultants. That's how they bridge themselves. There are some intellectuals, you would call them, or guys that come out of universities, and they were recruited during the Cold War. And their goal was to deal with all these nuclear weapons secrets. And what are we going to do with contending in the Cold War? And so they would come to them, the United States Navy, the Army, whoever would come to them and ask them to fix a problem for them. And they would pool these mental resources together, and they would meet a few times a year and discuss all these issues, super top secret, right? Above top secret. They started this program in Southern California. And this is where my family had all these connections through the organizations that were down there. And they started getting connected to this scientific group. Well, when you show a certain level of accolades, when you do personality testings, they start really early on in these families. They start trying to figure out exactly what cranks your gears. When you start popping up on certain algorithms, they're going to start to push you into different fields. And so my family chose for me the field of military intelligence and military espionage, counter-espionage. And that's what, to me, I liked it. And I wanted to do that. And so I got introduced to these people that would become my handlers. And that was part of what's called the Junior Jason Project, which is something you can look up online today. That's a project that now tens of millions of children have been through. They may not understand what it's for, but they pair these super elite specialized teachers with children and give them a custom catered education that gives them access to a totally different realm of normal schooling to what children have versus others don't. From that, they have finders inside there to recruit children into the family or into one of these interagencies. Like this is what NASA recruits from a 9-year-old child. That's a genius. They're like, we want them to be ours. So then they give them a tutor, a mentor, a handler who's going to cultivate them to be in these industries throughout their life. And so this is how a lot of these companies, you'll see all of them, Exxon, Mobil, Apple, Facebook, they all send their trained agents to find headhunters into this child organization to try to find them. And so this is public knowledge. This isn't like woo-woo, scary conspiracy level stuff. This is like the reality of how the world finds good managers level people, and then they want to find CEOs, and then they want to find board of directors. This is how they build them out. They start them in childhood.
I feel like it's a huge mystery how they do the astronaut selection process. It's not like you can go to like a temp agency and be like, hey, I want to be an astronaut. They come find you. So it's a little bit suspicious. Imagine calling this place home over 100 years ago. It is an amazing structure. Oh, they represent the 4 seasons. Fascinating. Where is this structure? Very interesting and mysterious at the same time. It makes you wonder who built it. Look how giant those doors are. Giants could easily walk through there. They're not meant for your normal 5-foot human being. Fascinating. You know what time it is. We got another excellent specimen for you to view at, and I want you guys to try and come up with an amazing name. And once you do, throw it in the comments. This is cool. Looks like gold at the top. Artichoke quartz? Interesting. I've never heard that before. Octahedrals. For sure, the squares. If I had to name this piece, I would call it the green double dragon tail. Green double dragon tail. So it almost looks like there's a dragon tail coming out of it. Then there's another one being built on the cross, but That's the best I got. What would you guys call it?
Grounding is another way to eat without eating food. Turns out the story of life is all about electrons, and electrons are how we absorb light. So how does grounding work on Earth? The sun is a cathode ray. The planet is an anode. This is an electromagnetic third-grade experiment. When a cathode ray hits an anode, what happens? Free electrons come off on the surface. So do a hard stop. In other words, grounding is another way to eat without eating food. That's what I'm saying to you. Now, here's the interesting part that a lot of people don't know. Our nearest relatives that have only 400 less genes than us, chimps and gorillas, have no sweat glands on their hands and feet. So I want you to think about that for a minute, but we do. Why is that? That's the reason, humans have socks and no one else does, because our feet sweat. It's because when you have a wet connection, you make a better connection with the tectonic plate. So I want you to do another hard stop. England and Europe used to be a really good place to get really nice shoes that were leather. Can you buy leather-based shoes anymore? No, you can't. Guess what? There's another way that this whole industrial complex is trying to screw us, because then it cuts off your ability to get those free electrons. When you don't have that, you tend to eat more food, especially when the light's bad. See, that's the opposite of the leptin prescription that I wrote. So grounding is a spectacular thing that everybody should do. So when Hyde Park gets sunlight, I would like you in your Kaneki with no shoes on, running around the grass with your new baby and your wife. Why? Because the more you do that in the sun, the less food electrons you need. And that's really important. Grounding is another way to eat without eating.
That's an interesting theory. That makes me think of all the old world structures and how they didn't have bathroom. Did they master this technique somehow? For context, don't do or attempt anything you hear on this video.
You can try this out. Try to hand somebody something of value. I don't care if it's money. Stand on the street, big city, New York City. Try to hand somebody something, right? $100 bill. You're going to get people that's going to pass you by because you're trying to give them something of value. I don't know what you're up to, but people don't normally hand people money that they don't know. It could be a winning lottery ticket, $20 million. Here you go, sir. Here you go, ma'am. They may not even respond to you. You're trying to give them something they're trying to get away from you. And it happens a lot of times on social media. People will tag somebody in something that's relative to whatever they do. Typically, you won't get a response. It's more psychological than you think. If you are someone that can offer something of value, what are you sending it to me for? Why are you not withholding it from me? Why are you not allowing me to chase you? Feels like you're giving it up too easy. So you believe that if the person reached out to you, that it minimizes their worth in some way. Why? Why not think that this is ordained? Why not think that God put it on this person's heart, put it in this person's spirit to reach out to me to better my situation? And people miss out on things that could be beneficial to them based on this psychology that's been impressed upon them probably since grade school. We don't want what seems too easy. It's got to be difficult. Difficult things are worth getting. It's not always the case. Sometimes it's handed right to you and you neglect it. Sometimes you are bypassing the biggest blessing that can happen in your life. Love. You can try this out. Try to hand.
Do not throw your pearls out before swine, or they will trample you. All right, y'all. Somebody said I owe you guys 2 specimens because I missed a day. So here you go. If that's not an octahedral, I don't know what is. If I had to name this piece, I would call it the quantum honeycomb. Yeah, that's a good one. The quantum honeycomb. What would you guys name this piece? I believe we were just talking about this the other day. Stop saying good morning.
If you're still saying good morning, then you need to stop and watch this video right now. Now, why would you greet someone saying good morning upon rising? Mourning, the expression of deep sorrow for someone who has died. Let's have a good morning. Now, it is said that back in the day, the term good morning actually comes from the slave masters. And the theory says that when the slave masters used to harm or the slaves, they used to tell the family members of those slaves, have a good morning. Enjoy the morning of your family members. Now, this might seem a little bit far-fetched, but you have to understand that the English language is littered with spells. Why do you think that they call it spelling? Because the way that you speak about yourself and about others quite literally casts spells. Listen to the first verse of the Bible. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God.
Life and death is at the power of the tongue. What about that one? Life and death, power of the tongue. Proverbs 18:21. Death and life are the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof.
Word. Everything was spoken. It's a manifestation. Spoke everything into existence. The Bible also says that your words have the power to lift people up and bring them life, or tear people down and bring them death. So quit saying good morning and start saying grand risings or rich risings or rise and shine. Your words create reality, so choose them wisely. Stop saying blessings. Be less. Start saying giftings. Stop.
The Hebrew for name for blessings is Quadash, I believe. Let's punch it in. Quadash. To be set apart, to be holy. So instead of blessings, you could say Quadash. He said, say rise and shine, anything but good morning. That's funny.
Saying that's sick, bro. Start saying that's healthy, bro. If you start speaking better, you're going to see your reality change in beautiful ways. Don't forget to like, share, and follow for more. Peace.
That's healthy, bro. The difference between having a soul versus having a spirit. Interesting.
Everybody on the planet, they have a spirit, but not everybody has a soul, because six ether is connected to the third dimension, but non-ether is connected to the heavens. Everybody's not the same, because if everybody was the same, everybody would have straight hair. Everybody would have afros. Anytime you see people who don't have an internal monologue, meaning that they can't create that little voice in their head and talk to themselves, that means that they don't have a soul. Because if you have a soul, you have demographics of bloodlines on the planet. They lose about 3% of collagen on their skin every year. That's a lot. This is why when you get into the mythology of, black don't crack. The black don't crack is because the collagen, it doesn't dissipate when the sun is operating from an intrinsic force. It actually resurrects the body. It doesn't dematerialize the body.
Yesterday, I made a video explaining how jet turbines don't use fuel to fly. This video is going viral on all platforms. If you haven't seen this video, go watch this after this one is done. I explain how the design of these jet turbines strongly resemble that of the pillars inside of ancient Indian temples, and also the ceilings, and that they use acoustic levitation, zero-point energy to fly, and they harness energy from the ether. This is where this gets even more crazy. There is only 3 companies in the world that can make these turbines, and guess who's at the top, pulling the strings as the top shareholders of these companies? You guessed it. Now, this is a question almost nobody asks. Why is there only 3 companies that power every airliner on Earth? You have CE Aerospace, Rolls-Royce, and Pratt & Whitney. If making fuel-burning fans were simple, we would see dozens of competitors, but we don't. And why is this? It's because they make it extremely complicated. You need years of certifications from gatekeepers like FAA, plus an absolute maze of export controls, which decides who gets to build. They also decide who gets to buy or even look at these technologies. That right there is a velvet rope around a very small club, a very secret club. And who sits quietly in the background? It's the same giant asset manager, BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, which, by the way, are all the same entities, even if it's not on paper. You must remember, the fewer the players in this game, the easier it is to guard the blueprint, and also the story about how these machines actually work. You think that a Boeing 747 carries 63,000 gallons of fuel? This is 60,000 gallons. In their wings, then you've been deceived, just like I've been deceived. And this lie has standed strong for a long time. They are hiding free energy, 0-point energy, levitation in plain sight. It would take them hours to fuel the plane if this was actually the case. You see, the fuel that they use is only to start these turbines. And once they reach a certain speed in the air, they use ultrasonic levitation. They also use superconductivity and pulse magnetic 0-point Meissner fields. They harness the etheric energy that is in the atmosphere. The higher up you go, the more electricity that you can harness. This is what keeps these massive 575-ton behemoths in the air. Levitation. Do you truly think that it's a coincidence that these turbines strongly resemble the ceilings of these ancient Indian temples? Or do you possibly think that maybe they stole this technology from our ancient ancestors, that they're hiding free energy in plain sight, that they don't want us to know about this technology? Obviously, another reason that they lie about this is so they can charge us out the freaking ass. But when you actually start to look into this theory, it doesn't make any sense that they are using fuel for the duration of the flight. They're quite literally stealing this technology and hiding it from us. Do a little bit of research and you will find the exact same conclusions. Peace and love. So yesterday I made a video explaining.
You gotta admit the similarity between these temple ceiling and the jet turbine is almost identical. Do I dare say that the buildings were able to fly?
For the last 8 months, this artifact right here has been making its rounds on the internet and social media platforms. It's what appears to be a stone book. Let's take a closer look at this and find out if in fact that really is a petrified book. The few people who represent modern geology have looked at this photo and they say it's just a natural formation. It's not a book. It's not in 300 million year old sandstone. Case closed. Enter in the creationist perspective that says that, according to flood geology, that everything formed very quickly. Rocks formed quickly, fossils formed quickly, petrification was done quickly. Any examples? How about this right here? This right here is a permineralized stone fedora that was in mineralized water, dripping on it for 2 years, and it became a stone hat. So it's not too far from center to consider. For the last 8 months, this artifact right here has been made.
So basically anything can get petrified if it sits in the right spot for long enough. Fascinating.
Listen, family, here's another reason why you shouldn't even be trying to wake people up. When they say that a person wakes up on their own time when they're ready, there's a deeper meaning behind this. You got to understand, the themes of your life was already planned out. Some people, they're not meant to wake up. That is not what their higher self wants for them. Think about it like this. Think about it like this. Really put into perspective. Let's say you and a bunch of beings say, all right, we're going to incarnate into this world as this species. And some of y'all say, I want to go through a path of enlightenment. Then some say, I want to be a professional tennis player. One being says, I want to be a chef and have a family. Like my whole point is, not every being wants to wake up. And some people may think, well, why wouldn't they? Some souls just want to live out their lives the way it was meant to be lived out. They will wake up eventually. It might not be this lifetime. If you have woken up in this lifetime, you are an old soul. Listen, and most people really don't understand what that means. There's a misconception of the meaning old soul. I promise you, if you are a conscious being, you are an old soul. There are things that you need to go through in the physical experience, and that usually takes lifetimes before your soul is even thinking of the idea of you walking on this path. At least in this time and age, in this realm that we're currently in. Because here's the thing about time. You know what? I'm going to save that for another video. We ain't even going to talk about the concept of time. But it is very simple. Now I'm going to use a quote that I had said once before. If I set my alarm clock at 9 a.m. and you set your alarm clock at 7 a.m. and before I went to bed, I said like, yo, I don't want to wake up before 9 a.m. by any means necessary. Like 9 a.m. is the time I want to wake up. That's it. That's what I want. Then when your alarm goes off at 7 a.m., but this is the thing, you didn't know that my alarm was set for 9 a.m. You didn't know like that's the time I wanted to wake up and that's it. So when you wake up at 7 a.m. and you're amazed at what your eyes are seeing, just so happy to be awake. And then you see someone who's sleeping, you're like, oh my God, I got to wake them up too. They got to experience this as well. But it's 7 a.m. Your alarm was set for 7 a.m. I wanted to wake up at 9. If you come waking me up at 7 before my alarm, what is the natural reaction? It's not going to be a positive one. I'm probably not going to be open to you. I'm probably going to go back to sleep.
That's just like saying you can't give a baby, steak, and a grown man's plate. You got to give it baby food, something they can digest, the sections, layer by layer, precept upon precept. Man, that's all we got for today's video. If you made it this far, the code word is Saturday Motion. Drop Saturday Motion in the comments below. When you do that, that lets me know you're a real one. You watch my videos all the way to the end. You're just not some troll that come in here. Oh, man, that ain't real. Oh, man. Especially when that's the first comment you ever said on my channel. But I know the real ones, and I just want to say thank you for your support. I love you guys from the bottom of my heart. This was the most disturbing videos on the internet today. See you later.